What's up, everybody? We're here today to do a camera review of the Canon SL2, also known as the 200D, the little camera that can fit in the palm of my hand. We're going to talk about who this camera is for, who it's not, list some positives, go over some negatives, and talk personally about why I picked this camera out for myself and for my wife. First of all, the positives. Obviously, it's very small and very light. It is also the cheapest camera on the market right now that Canon is putting out. It comes in at about $550 with the kit lens. It has the same sensor as a lot of its competitors that cost quite a bit more money. The T7i is going to run you $150 more, the 77D $200 more, and the 80D is $300 more than this camera. Now they all have benefits of themselves, but we're personally talking about this one as it's the camera that my wife and I have been shooting with for a month now. Our past 4 videos were all shot with the Canon SL2. Some of the other bonus features: it has the dual pixel autofocus, which is just amazing. It's the best on the market when you're shooting through the live view, either still images or doing video. It gets you in there, it gets you tack sharp, it gets the job done. It can track your face when you're in video mode. It can track objects just by touching the touch screen, which is another one of its amazing features. It's got a fully articulating touch screen. Touch anywhere you want and it'll focus on that object. It also lets you control the settings and all kinds of other features right there on the screen without having to mess with the dials. The dials themselves are also easily accessible and are pretty much set up like all the other Canon Rebel series. This camera has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You can just take your Android phone, tap to it, it connects. You can be sharing pictures in a matter of seconds. And it has a feature assistant which teaches new users what the different settings do on the camera, making it a valuable tool for people just beginning in photography. Now, some of its negative points include a 9-point autofocus, which is a little bit outdated. The Canon T7i, on the other hand, has 45 autofocus points. Now this can become real important for some and not so much for others. If you're going to be tracking birds in flight, motorcycles going around the racetrack, indoor sports, you might want those extra autofocus points. But me, I'm a big wildlife guy, and I've been shooting wildlife on my Canon 6D, which has the same 9-point autofocus system for a long time, and I still managed to pull off some really amazing shots. I doubt I could do birds in flight, but then that's not really my thing. Some of the other disadvantages: for video, it does not have 4K. A lot of people out there are shooting 4K now, and that's what a lot of people want. But it does do full HD at 60 frames per second. That's 1080p, 60 frames per second. Great for slow-mo, getting those smooth pans. And for me and my wife, it's what we need, it's what we want. We have a very nice computer, and I can tell you that editing 4K video on that bogs this nice computer down. The files are huge. The render times on video are ridiculous. It takes up so much room on the hard drive, and for us 1080p is good enough. It's what we want to work with. So in my particular case, it's not really a negative point. It's also, the camera is not weather sealed, neither are the other Rebel series cameras. That might be a bit of a downer as well. Personally, for me, I got a nice rain sleeve. If it's raining out, I put the rain sleeve on there. The camera stays dry. I might have to get in and clean it a little more often because dust gets in there. A bit of a bummer, but for the price range, $550 bucks, you're not going to get a weather sealed camera, and it's just not not that big of a negative point. It comes in average in places like battery life, you get 650 shots. I tell you, we've taken it out, shot in video. You know, we've gone all day shooting video here, shooting video there, and by the end of the day the battery's drained, but we haven't ran out yet. We keep a charger in the car for emergency situations. It gets low, throw it on the charger for a little while, we're good to go. But if you're going out backpacking, you want to shoot video, you can be gone for a few days, taking a lot of live view images, you're probably going to want an extra battery or two. It's also pretty average in the burst mode, how many frames per second that it can shoot. It comes in at 5 frames per second, which isn't great. There's a lot of cameras out there that are doing better. They're also going to cost you a lot more. Like I said, I like to do wildlife, and the Canon 6D, which I use for my wildlife, shoots at 4.5 frames per second. So not even as good as this, but I've been perfectly happy with it. I don't feel like I miss a lot of shots. ISO noise, it's about average with its competitors, being the T7i and the 77D, the 80D. It does as good as all the other crop frame cameras are doing that have came out around this similar time frame. It's not as good as your full frame camera, but then you wouldn't expect it to be. So to get to the point, who would want this camera? I think it's an excellent camera for beginners. If you put some good glass on here, it's going to do great for landscapes, product, general portrait, real estate, street photography. Even with its kit lens, it's been performing pretty well. And with the feature assistant telling you what settings are going to do, you know, is the shutter going to blur things out? Is the aperture going to give you that nice bokeh and shallow depth of field? It's just really good for beginners to learn how to use the manual settings on your camera, which you should really always be using. I think it's great for vloggers. I can flip this screen, hold it out here, it's light enough my shoulder doesn't get tired, and it'll track my face no matter where I move it. I'm always in focus, and that is an excellent feature. It's handled all our video capabilities very well, except for maybe a few shots we do inside the car. It gets a little noisy in the dark areas, you get that ISO noise, but once again, for the cost, I think it's a pretty amazing camera. Great for backpackers. This thing is light, the lightest out there, the lightest and the smallest other than its predecessor, the SL1. I mean, unless you're going mirrorless, which my lenses don't fit mirrorless, this is what you want. So who should look elsewhere? Well, this camera's not going to be for everybody. There's better entry-level cameras out there for people that might like shooting sports, especially indoor sports, birds in flight, wedding photography, indoor low-light events in general. I probably wouldn't say this is the best camera for that. If you're shooting high-speed action, birds in flight, sports, you're going to want a camera that has more of those autofocus points, like the T7i, which has 45, so you can really track those fast-moving subjects. And if you're shooting indoor low-light situations, well, you might want a full frame, or you're going to end up with noisy images unless you really shell out the money on some really fast glass. And if you get that really expensive glass, in order to get those low light shots, you're going to be shooting at really wide open apertures, 2.8 and such, which may not give you the style you want in your event photography. You might want everything in focus, front to back, for a big group photo. And for that, I think I'd go with something like this 6D that I'm filming with now. Full frame camera that's really going to handle a lot better in those low light situations. As far as wedding photography, I think this would be a good backup camera, but for your main body you really want something that has 2 memory card slots. You want to be sure that you got all those images. If one of your cards fail, you want to know you got a backup. You can't miss the bride walking down the aisle or the groom seeing the bride for the first time because one of your memory cards fail. And that could potentially happen with a camera that only has one slot. You got that backup, you're safe, you don't have to worry about it. So good backup camera, not a good main body for wedding photography. Well, I hope you liked this review. I hope that I went over the good pluses and minuses of the camera. I know there's more technical reviews out there, but a lot of people looking at this are beginning photographers, and they just want to know why they should or shouldn't get it. And they can get into the pixel peeping and all that, but there's other reviews out there that go a lot more in depth if you want to look for them. If you want a camera for more action, I'd go take a look at the reviews for the T7i, something that's in similar price ranges. If you want something that's going to do low light well, you know, those wildlife shoots in the evening and morning, your low light kids playing sports, things like that. Personally, I'd look at the Canon 6D, which you can pick up for about $1,000 now, or the new version, the 6D Mark II, which I believe is coming in at around $1,700. I'd have to double check that. That's what I'd go with. Hope that answers the question of what camera I should get. Thanks for watching.